Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. So the 9mm Flobert saga continues. This is now a 9mm Flobert centerfire, and you may have noticed a slight change to the weapon. So I was lamenting that ball ammunition for these shotguns is not available in the United States except as a collector's item. And Rook Rifle, one of the viewers, suggested in the comments that I try 30 caliber airgun pellets. Now these have the Diabolo shape with the thick head, taper, and then the skirt, which is partly hollow so that it will expand to fill the breech, fill the bore. And I thought that was worth trying, so the next day Amazon dropped off a tin of DTS Dead Center 45 grain pellets. And I proceeded to load some into my 9mm Flobert shells over the same charge that I'm currently using for shot, which is 1.4 grains of red dot. And the results were interesting and inspiring. But with a scope mount in the way and no proper rear sight, I couldn't determine if the pellets were accurate, because I could never tell if it was me, a sighting error, or the gun. And I tried several times to develop a useful result, and then I removed the scope mount, which was simply soldered on. I just unsoldered it and pulled it off, and tried to use the groove in the receiver as a rear sight, and this did not yield particularly good results, because that is a very big U. It works great for getting shot on target at 10 yards, but not much use with the pellets. They were going all over the place, and I couldn't tell if it was the pellets being inherently inaccurate or aiming errors on my part for lack of proper sight. So after my latest attempt yesterday morning, I trundled over from the range to Pinto's Guns to speak to Chris, and he dug into his endless drawers and boxes of wonder and produced this Remington adjustable rear sight, which I was able to adapt and cut a flat into the top of the barrel and solder it firmly in place. And I sealed the edges with epoxy so no moisture could get under there and cause rust. And modified the sight quite a bit because it was much too tall. So now it has a little V groove, and it does not have an elevation slider as this sight usually does. They have a stepped little bit of metal that you can adjust the height of the rear sight with. It doesn't need that, so I didn't use it. And of course the front sight is still just the bead it has always been. And I was very hopeful, and I was able to shoot it indoors last night at 5 yards, and it seemed very accurate at 5 yards. So today I went out in the yard in a break in the weather to try it at 15 yards and see if I was developing any kind of consistency with the pellets. Let's have a look at how that went. All right, got a little break in the weather, so let's try this out at about 15 yards. I don't lose that brass. Well, that seems all right. Let's have a closer look. All right, I was aiming dead center of the round circle, and those are about an inch apart. So I'd say the consistency is good, and with a little practice and some adjusting, I think the accuracy is fine. Very pleased with that result. So as you can see, that went quite well. 3 shots in basically a 1-inch group at 15 yards, just shooting casually offhand at 15 yards. And that, in my book, is Minute of Bunny. I'm going to have to get more pellets because I've expended or loaded all 100 pellets into casings. And I have to do some more practice, but I think this is going to be a fair to middling 20 to 25 yard bunny gun, which would add immensely to its utility. And I think that's pretty spiffy. Now, how much power are we generating? So what I've done is I have shortened the cartridge so that I could load using a 32 Smith & Wesson reloading die to seat the bullets, because I want the pellets seated consistently. And there's just enough room under there for a comfortable 1.5 grains or 1.4 grains of red dot. Now, I've done something clever with my chronograph, and I couldn't find it today. There's disadvantages to having a very small radar chronograph, one of which is that you can put it somewhere and forget, and it's not immediately obvious, the way a more conventional chronograph is. But, so I'm not sure what the velocity is. They are subsonic, but I think they're pretty close. And firing into clear ballistics gel, it got 11.5 inches of penetration. So power is certainly adequate for bunnies at 15 to 25 yards, presupposing I'm accurate enough to hit them. So let's go to the tabletop and have a look at things. Okay, so as you can see, the Remington sight mounted nicely. And I did have to cut it down quite a bit to get it low enough to work and play well with the front sight. And these are the cartridges, which you can see are just my centerfire Flobert shotgun shells that I made from 3220 brass, shortened in the lathe. And again, they are shortened so that I can use a 32 Smith & Wesson seating die to seat the pellets properly. And then I put a drop of super glue on top and let that dry to seal it against moisture. And I have 25 cartridges loaded, which I'm just keeping in the DTS tin. And you can see the load data right there. And 9mm FCP for Flobert centerfire pellet is what I have designated this. I suppose technically it's a Wildcat cartridge, which is fine. But overall, it was there was a lot of frustration involved because, as I said, I couldn't tell what was this lack of a proper rear sight and what was potentially the instability of the pellets, but they do seem to stabilize quite well, at least at 15 yards. And this is turning into a quite respectable looking weapon. So, I will also note that the shot cartridges shoot a pattern centered on the front sight at 10 yards, so it all seems to be to the good. That is it for the 9mm Flobert today. Now, one issue that I'm having with the shot loads is that I only have 7.5 inch shot, and I looked at getting number 8 or 9 shot, but I have to buy 25 pounds at a time, and that's kind of ridiculous. The 7.5 shot I got by scavenging it from 20 gauge shotgun shells because I don't have a 20 gauge. But I think with number 9 shot, it would be, I think you'd get a much denser pattern because there's simply more pellets. And I really think that that might be the way to go. But again, I don't want to buy 25 pounds of them. And number 10 shot, I could not find at all for sale. So that's right out. But there will be more developments, and since my friend Ben's property is overrun with bunnies, this is going to be going on an outing soon. Me and my brother Joe are going to head over to Ben's property and see if we can help thin out the bunny population a bit. So, I'd like to shout out to my supporters on Patreon. It's very much a shoestring operation, and your contributions help more than you know. I also like to thank channel benefactors, those individuals and businesses who've contributed to the channel in innumerable ways and really helped make this work. I also like to shout out, as always, to Rain City Shooting Center for providing material support to the channel. So anyway, that's it for the Flobert for now. The next video will not feature this gun, I promise. So I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.